Hey everybody, real quick, just wanted to step in here, and if you notice, this is the second Warrior Nun on the feed. So there was a bit of an issue with the audio last night. Mark had Chris Sheehan on as a guest for Warrior Nun, and unfortunately, the audio did not pick up anything that Chris was saying. So the episode that's on the feed right now before this is Mark talking and a lot of awkward silence, and then Mark laughing at virtually nothing. So we've encountered this before. We did I believe it was a Damn You Hollywood, where the same thing happened. We forgot to switch over the audio to pick up anybody else but Mark on that episode. So I released a edited version of the podcast where the silence was condensed down, and it basically just sounds like Mark is a madman talking to nobody and actually laughing at nothing. So, anyway, this will be a fun one to listen to. And actually, I listened to a little bit of it before I put it together, and it tracks well, at least in some parts. I didn't listen to the whole thing, so the runtime's about a half hour less than what you got with the original episode. So, all right, everybody, here comes Mark Radulich and his discussion with himself about Warrior Nun Areala, issues 1 through 3.
Good evening, comic book fans. This is another Source Material Live, brought to you from the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, by the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. I'm your mumbly-fumbly host, Mr. Mark Radulich, and frankly, I'm mortified. And tonight, because Netflix has adapted every 2-bit comic out there, now, then, and forever, apparently, Netflix adapted Warrior Nun Areala into the Warrior Nun series. So, because it's a comic book adaptation, of course, yours truly, here on Source Material Live, dug into the Amazon in the Comixology and found out that this whole nutty thing started back in 1994 with the first 3-issue limited run of Warrior Nun Areala, created by Ben Dunn. And helping me discuss this 90s book that's never 90s harder than it ever 90'd before is the one and only from the Cosmic Treadmill, Chris Sheehan. How you doing, sir? There's a lot of cleavage and a lot of areolas. Gosh darn it, there's just a lot of gratuitous nudity in this book. Listen, nothing sells comics like erect nipples. Here's my question to you. Do you know what nunsploitation is? Have you ever seen the movie, and believe it or not, no. There's Sister Act just falls slightly out of the boundaries of nunsploitation. No, an example of nunsploitation is the cinematic classic. You may have seen it with your wife. I don't know if she's into quality films, but Nude Nuns with Big Guns. That's an actual... Yeah, exactly. It's fun for the whole family. True story. Sean Comer and I, our friendship was developed around Nude Nuns with Big Guns, mainly because I think we're the only two that have ever seen it. But let me learn you something here, because here's the problem with Warrior Nun. Despite its name, might trigger you otherwise. Apparently, this has come under fire from people for being a nunsploitation rag. But what is nunsploitation? Well, it's one of my favorite exploitations, I'll be very honest with you. As a connoisseur of exploitations, nuns rank at the top, just below black. So, nunsploitation is a subgenre of the exploitation film which had its peak in Europe in the 1970s. These films typically... This is a real thing, Chris. These films typically involve Christian nuns living in convents during the Middle Ages. The main conflict of the story is usually of a religious or sexual nature, such as religious oppression or sexual suppression due to living in celibacy. The Inquisition is another common theme. These films, often seen as pure exploitation films, often contain criticism, believe it or not, against religion, yeah, I know, in general, and the Catholic Church in particular. Indeed, some protagonist dialogue voiced feminist consciousness, once again, and rejection of their subordinated social role. Many of these films were made in countries where the Catholic Church is influential, such as Italy and Spain. So it's kind of like the black metal of film. Like, here we have lots of churches. Great, here's the subgenre of something totally against it. One atypical example of the genre, Killer Nun, was set in then present-day Italy in 1978. Now, I'm going to read a little bit further here because I want you to get your education, see? Nunsploitation, along with Nazi-sploitation, my third favorite exploitation, by the way. Have you ever seen those big Nazi-sploitation movies with the giant Ubermensch woman standing there, and she's usually, a buxom gal, and she's got something along those lines? Yes. Yeah, that's its own thing. That's Nazi-sploitation. Is a subgenre that ran a parallel course alongside the women in prison films. You ever watch much women in prison films? Like The Big Birdcage or Black Mama, White Mama? Okay. Once again, around Christmas time, when these would be appropriate, you should definitely watch Pam Grier's Black Mama, White Mama. It's a classic. These, of course, were big in the 70s and 80s. As with prison films, they are set in isolated fortress-like convents where the all-female population turns to lesbianism and perversity like you do. Of course. The element of religious guilt allows for lurid depictions of mortifying the flesh, which is a hobby of mine, such as self-flagellation and painful masochistic rituals. The Mother Superior is usually a cruel and corrupt warden like Martinet, who enforces strict discipline and often lusts after her female charges. An equally sadistic and lecherous priest is often included to add an element of masculine menace to the story. So let's stop there. Maybe later, if people want, they can tweet me, and I'll send them a list of the best nunsploitation movies. But let me ask you a question. Having read this 3-issue arc here, which we're going to talk about momentarily, do you agree with the criticism that this fell under, that this is a nunsploitation rag? Okay. Let me ask you a question. As a comic book historian, when did the concept of dressing your female superheroes like whores start, and has it ever stopped? Okay. Take out the Catholic cross and replace it with a black X with a red background. This, to me, looks like an X-Men comic of the 90s. Like, we did... Oh, gosh, what was it? We did this last September. The one where Professor X turned into... Thank you. We did Onslaught, which was, at that time, in my opinion, the most 90s comic that ever 90'd harder than any 90s ever before. And every male that is wearing skin-tight clothes, and they are ripped to shreds with pecs that would make a bodybuilder cry. Yeah. And all the women are wearing... Some of them are wearing, like, low-cut stuff, but they're all definitely wearing skin-tight outfits, and they all have perfectly round bosom. And seemingly drew with no pants on. Just one hand on the drawing board, another hand just stroking it. And this boy, is everything curvy. I don't think there's a straight line in this book, including the swords. The swords seem to bend. So, having said all that, we're going to come back to the Catholic criticism because this needs... I need to read this out loud and we need to discuss it. But let's talk about the book first. Now, I haven't watched, as of this recording, I have not watched Warrior Nun on Netflix, and you don't watch television. So we're going to focus directly on the book that influenced this whole thing. And to be clear, it's not just this. Warrior Nun apparently has a long story tradition. It starts in 1994 with Warrior Nun Areala Series 1 by Ben Dunn. Then there's Rituals, which was a 6-issue limited series from 95 to 96. Then there's Scorpio Rose, which is a 4-issue limited series, which ran from 96 to 97. And it just kind of goes on like that. After Time, Black and White, The Crimson Nun. Then, now I also read Series 2, which was a 6-issue limited series. That ran from 97 to May of 98, which definitely a reflection of the art of the time. I didn't think it was as good as this one. Take that for what it's story-wise. And then we have... yeah, it wasn't very interesting at all. There's a one-shot of Warrior Nun, Areala, and Glory, whoever Glory was. There's Frenzy. There's Areala, Angel of War. And then as we move into the 2000s, we've got Resurrection Series 3, which was 19 issues. Brigantia, Ghosts of the Past, Dangerous Game Series 4, which was 19 issues. And then finally, Warrior Nun, No Justice for Innocence. There's a small part of me that wants to read all the way through all these. I feel like I need to become the world's leading expert, because it wasn't directly involved with the project, on Warrior Nun. Oh, aren't you ready to just throw your pants out the window? I think you're right. Well, you do the one shots on your podcast, the Cosmic Treadmill, right? Okay, I think you need to invite me on to talk about this. I think this needs to be your bag. Okay. So, speaking of manga, that's in fact what this is. Warrior Nun Areala is a manga-style Canadian comic book. Those damn Canadians and their nunsploitation. Hi, Chris Bailey. It was created by Ben Dunn and published by Antarctic Press. Now, here's what you need to know. The story revolves around Sister Shannon Masters, a member of the Order of the Cruciform Sword, a fictional, in case you were wondering if they were really warrior nuns out there, military order of warrior nuns and magic priests. See, nuns are your warriors if you're playing D&D with Catholic characters. Nuns are your paladins, your Vikings, your fighters, and then your priests. See, magic priests, they're your wizards. And this is all in the service of the Catholic Church. Which I don't know about you, but I've always thought the Catholic Church really needed something to get it to be a popular thing across the countries, across the world. Like Viking warriors and magic priests. Yeah, because who would have heard of the Catholic Church otherwise? The order was... We're so snarky. The order was created in 1066 when a Valkyrie named Aurea renounced her pagan ways like you do and turned to Jesus Christ for salvation. So far, so good. Ever since then, Aurea, now Areala, has chosen someone out there who's like, that's not how you pronounce it, dick. Sorry. There we go. You ain't kidding. Has chosen an avatar every generation to carry on the mission. In modern times, or weird times as Clutch would say, this mission has grown into a global organization in the service of the Catholic Church, with the current Areala, Sister Shannon Masters, as the best and brightest assist of them all. With her friends beside her, Sister Shannon has led the forces of good against those of evil, ever serving the Lord with faith and humility. Appearing on and off for 20 years since her first appearance, Warrior Nun Areala is creator Ben Dunn's favorite character. Oh, he's working through some stuff. Good Christ. All right, so here's the story with this. So, our titular hero here, our warrior nun, has graduated at the top of her class, and she's being sent to... Now, over time, there have been less demon sightings, you see. This was the Catholic order here, the Sword of the Cruciform. They've been out there... Order of the Cruciform Sword, rather. They've been out there trying to stop the world from being taken over by demons and other satanic creatures. They're like the Jedi. They're here to keep the balance, you see, between good and evil. But, like all stories of this ilk, as technology has taken over, there's been less demon sightings and less calls for warrior nuns just prancing about lobbing swords at people. So, she has to cover a pretty large territory in the United States, which is where she's headed. Now, in the United States, we have a fallen warrior nun. Chris, who is the fallen warrior nun's name? Yes! Shotgun Mary, who, if you... Mm-hmm. Yes, straight out of a Batman comic from the 90s. Mm-hmm. It's dense. It's very dense, and I've never like complained about it, but I think I noticed it with Onslaught. How it felt like instead of painting with your typical colors that you would paint a comic, they went and used house paint. Yeah. So Shotgun Mary is on one of her motorcycles. And it looks like she's smoking a cigarette. She's so badass. Look at her. Look at her. Her two Ds that's got multiple meanings. When you're going out and fighting crime, you want to make sure your head's completely uncovered, your hair is long and lovely, and you're wearing a bustier. Because there's nothing a mugger potentially fears worse than the cleavage of a well-endowed woman. So we get a few panels here of Shotgun Mary, and it talks a little bit about how she was kind of thrown out of the order, and we'll find out later that any institution will eventually ask you to do something unsavory, even a Catholic one, even a warrior Catholic one. So she eventually drops out of the order because whatever it was they wanted her to do ran against her personal moral code. So like all good heroines of the 90s and even beyond, she drives her motorcycle through a plate glass window and uses the motorcycle as a weapon, Captain America style. And she pulls out two large guns, which another staple of the 90s, correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't the three legs of the stool of the 90s, double D-breasted women and pecked out men, that's one, big guns two, and pockets three. One is definitely a single-action pump-handle shotgun. The other one looks something like an AK-47, maybe an Uzi, perhaps. My question to you: are the guns big enough for 1994? So she's on a mission here, and she jumps in. Of course, she starts shooting up the place, and lo, a demon is afoot. A cyber demon must have hit the jackpot. Roar! I know you. I walked with you once upon a dream. No, it just says I know you. Road Warrior Hawk, Road Warrior Animal, Road Warrior Demon. So he flicks her her sunglasses, and now she's pissed. You know what this reminds me of, actually? The Pamela Anderson, barbed wire. This is very barbed wire-ish, which was also a relic of the 90s, which we've covered on this show, because look, if it's a buxom blonde with big guns, or a nude nun with big guns, it's getting covered on this network. So she's mad as shit about her sunglasses, which cost $45 back in 19... Yeah, shit for brains. That's what she calls them. And she splatters his brains all over the wall. And she sees it. Now, there's a child in this contraption of some sort. She came for the hard drives, and she was going to leave the kid behind because that wasn't part of the mission. But lo, she has a big heart. She cannot leave the child behind, and so she does not. Another demon shows up, and hey, what do we notice about these gun-toting enforcers that are with the demon? Not only that, but they are invocative of something. What are they invocative of? That's right, yeah, like man and wife, nun and Nazi exploitation. I love it. Well, this definitely looks like the work of Shotgun Mary, says one of the Nazis. But they're not Nazis because they're wearing pentagrams, armbands. Yeah, he's just sort of Donald Ducking it there. Well, I don't. Maybe you can't see. Maybe his. Well, that's the thing. Is like he looks like he's got some sort of exoskeleton. So his penis might be inside that exoskeleton codpiece. Yes. So, so she rescues the kid. Yeah, I now know what you're talking about. You mentioned this to me earlier. She rode in on a Kawasaki, rode out on a Harley. Well, my question is, did she show up to the crime scene with just like a bunch of motorcycles in tow? Are they in a van somewhere? I have questions. She also seems to have lost her jacket because, like, when we first see her, let me go up again. When we first see her, oh, you're right. Okay, yeah, okay. So she's just so if you're not reading with us and you're just listening. So she's got her cross on, like you do. Got a collar, because that's badass. And because it's the 90s, she's wearing black leather. And she's got a whole bunch of... Now, look, I'll give credit where credit's due. At least she's wearing knee pads. She's got some degree of armor on. To cover her abdomen, in case some stray fire should hit her in the breadbasket somewhere, she looks like she's got belts for armor. Yeah, she's definitely half dominatrix, half like Harley babe. All right, so now she's got the jacket off. She's got it wrapped. You're right. She's got it wrapped around the kid, so you can see her muscular arms. All right, and you might be wondering, but where's our warrior nun? Where's she at? All right, so Sister Shannon shows up to her headquarters there in presumably New York, and she's talking with Father Terrence, and a demon shows up and says, "Demon, how dare you enter this house? I am neither demon nor man, warrior nun. I come only to deliver a message." And this is where we get an exposition dump. Ham sandwich. So, a war will soon erupt between certain factions of Hades. It doesn't involve heaven, but some of it will spill onto Earth. Yeah, this is very manga-ish. If after 3 sentences I've already got a nosebleed, I'm like, yup, the Japanese are responsible. If the forces of heaven choose to interfere, they do so at their own peril. We take no responsibility for your action. And of course, Sister Shannon will hear none of it. She's not listening to nobody. She says, how dare hell assume it can dictate what heaven decides? Right, don't listen to the fucking thing. Just start yelling at it. Just warrior nag. That's what they should have called this. Stubborn. I knew it'd be a waste of time to come. Well, I fulfilled my obligations. Humans. What a bunch of assholes. Alright, so she's looking into the moonlight, and there we have our next panel here. We have one of our magic priests. This is the Kabbalist headquarters to the international arms dealer, Julian Salvius. Oh yeah, this is the guy that wants to open up hell. Like you do. Yeah. Yep. So he needs his demon pals. He's like Shredder. So Shredder had Rocksteady and Bebop. Well, he has Bloodshed and Demon Foster. Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely like a cross between like Magneto and name that villain of that era. All drives have a tracking device. Tell them to retrieve those drives at all costs or they'll be hell to pay. Yuck, yuck, yuck. As far as getting another incubator, the town is full of them. Just grab one. He's talking about grabbing a kid. Alright. So the stars are in alignment and all the ancient codes are loaded and that's all that is needed. And all that is needed is a sacrifice and we get more gratuitous nudity here. As some gal, with proper shading just in the right parts. And a hand in the right parts. Reminds me of a bread commercial I used to see where they would pour like the butter on top of the bread, but because of the way the bread was like folded in, there was like a deep crevice there. All right, so he's contacting Lucifer on the telephone, and Lucifer says, "Why, yes, my Lord Lucifer, all goes according to plan. Soon you shall be released, and you shall lead us to victory over the light. See that all goes well. I grow impatient." Lucifer trucks with no delays. Right. Also, they chose as an aesthetic for Lucifer the Master Control from Tron. Yep. All right. So, yeah, absolutely. And that's what brings us to Lilith. Yes, Lillith, the Demon Princess. But she's not working for Lucifer. She's actually working against Lucifer. And, you know, as a demon princess, as somebody who is ready for the fight, she's got a whip there, she's ready to kick some ass. It's a good thing her tatas are being held up by a bony clip and some wrap. Yeah. Chris, all women's nipples are erect all the time. Don't you understand? Yeah, could you imagine if this was in 3D? Just, oh! All right, so the busty Lilith, that's right, come back next month, so maybe this will make sense. Yeah. Well, listen, if you're a 12-year-old boy, and and you're at the 7-Eleven, and you're at the comic rack spinner, got your Slurpee in hand, right? And you're like, what can I read? Sergeant Rock? No, he doesn't do it for me. You know, I've already got that X-Men comic. Spider-Man? Hey, Warrior Tits McGee. This sounds great. Come on. Yeah, at least Shotgun Mary is ready for the fight. I mean, Lilith here, just because you're a satanic demon princess doesn't mean you have to dress like a whore. I'm just saying. Okay. So let's look at issue number 2 here, and we have a very seductive-looking manga-style Lilith the Demon Princess with a dowdy and looking down, her warrior habit tucked neatly between her thighs, Warrior Nun Areala. I hope people listening to this are way uncomfortable. All right. Your wife just might wander in. What kind of a porn are you looking at? Well, you know, Chris, normally hell is an organized place because processing thousands of souls a day has made it one of the most efficient organizations in this or any other world. It's good that, yeah, they really took the magic out of hell here. However, for today, things are going out of whack. My goodness, what wordsmithing. Let me ask you a very important question. If you look at this page where she's saying, "Underlings, patch me into Lord Orcus at once. I must report this." Those boobs, fake or natural? They got to be fake, right? Nothing is that round. I think she's overcompensating. I bet she's flat-chested, and she just like threw on these like fake boobs. She's wearing 2 blindfolds and a skull for a top. Good grief. All right, it's enough about Lilith. So we'll skip ahead here. The great risk is that it will be necessary to travel to the prime material plane. From there, you will hook up with several of our agents and stop this human, Salvius Julianus. That's our villain from the previous comic. Beware, he is a cunning and powerful wizard with many allies, which we have seen absolutely no proof of yet in this comic. Use whatever means necessary to stop his plans. Lord Orcus is counting on you, my sweet. All right. Like she had a stroke, but like from top to bottom instead of left to right. Well, in defense of this drawing, nobody who read this comic was looking at her forehead or her face. We are several pages into this, and we are still with Lilith, the demon princess. So she's trying to get to the material plane, and oh shit, we're back to the warrior nun herself. And we find her praying. Yeah, right. And in kicks the door, good old Shotgun Mary. And she's like, hey, how about a hand with this child here? And she doesn't know who she is. And she's like, I don't need to answer any of your stupid questions. I've got a kid here who needs some help. Don't you understand? So we spent some time working with the kid here. So Sister Shannon here is wearing an appropriate, well, somewhat appropriate, yes, a Jean Grey-ish, if you will, habit. No, she's still wearing the, you think? It's hard to tell. She and Barbed Wire all travel in the same packs and wear the same clothes. I'm convinced of this. All right, so they're working on the kid. Yeah, and we're back to the villain here. We're back to the kid again. Not a lot happening. Yeah, this middle issue was meh. Yeah. the sort of the holy what the fuck. Yes, right out of a fucking G.I. Joe comic book. Father Terrence, don't you understand? According to our computer, Gabriel, their computer... okay, so their Jarvis, their big computer system is named Gabriel, as in the angel. Demonic activity has increased 100-fold in the last 24 hours. We went from, no demons to all the demons in one day. Now here, because, okay, we haven't seen the Warrior Nun actually do anything yet. We've got a lot of Shotgun Mary. We've had a lot of Lilith. We've got a little bit of the villain. Here's a good time to talk about the God armor. So you've heard, I don't know if you saw, probably not. You saw Avengers Age of, the rest of you saw Avengers Age of Ultron, where they had Veronica, and Veronica was essentially the Hulkbuster armor that orbited the Earth in case the Hulk ever went nuts. And so in the Age of Ultron, the Scarlet Witch uses her hoodoo voodoo powers on the Hulk, and he goes crazy, and he starts tearing apart Africa. And so Iron Man calls down Veronica, and you get your much ballyhooed Hulk versus Hulkbuster armor. This God armor is the Hulkbuster armor, is the point here. And if Sister Shannon should find herself in a pickle, she's to call down the God armor. But apparently, if you call down the God armor too much, it'll change you. Don't you understand? One God, your pie, sir. All right. There's a question. Father Terrence asked, will Sister Shannon be worthy? I don't know. We haven't seen Sister Shannon do anything yet. Yes, she nagged a demon, like you do. So, let's see. We're back to the villain again. They are ready to put their evil plan in place to open up. Hey, did you say you wanted more characters? Yes, and what was the other one? It was like Demon, Foster, and Fred or something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In the forehead, yep. Well, this big monkey demon rat bat thing crashes into the Catholic church where good old Sister Shannon's hanging about with Shotgun Mary and Father Terrence, and he tries to steal the kid. The other dude shows up, and she says, "Hail, Mary, Mother of God." Yes, she's like He-Man. She goes from being Prince Adam to He-Man as she says, "Hail, Mary, Mother of God," and her sword appears, and now she's the warrior nun. So she doesn't walk around like that. Listen, it would be silly for a nun to be walking around with her bare cleavage showing and her midriff and a tunic between her legs. I don't know, but her waist is a size -2. She is built like a Barbie. You ever see if you actually put the proportions of a Barbie on a real person, they'd fall over. They wouldn't be able to support their chest. She does have some thick ass thighs, though. Good for her. Yeah, somebody else made that. I think Goodreads. When I was looking at the comments, someone's like, "Did whoever drew this just look at pictures of Chun-Li over and over and over again?" Yeah, there was a lot of thinking about them thighs. Them milky white thighs. Oh, did you notice the pockets? She has tons of pockets on her belts. Okay, so she is ready for battle in the 90s. Good. All right, well, there might be. Maybe we have no way. Look, she's a nun. The curtains have to match the drapes, right? She's not going for dye jobs. All right, so she kicks this thing in the face, and the tunic is strategically placed over her crotch, like you do. More. Yeah, Lilith showed up, and she says, "Lilith, this is none of your affair. My lord Orcus has made it my affair, so let the kid go." What we needed here was more heroes. We don't want Warrior Nun doing too much in this inaugural series. Okay, so Lilith grabs the kid, who's only wearing a shirt and underpants. No one wears pants in this comic. So, a phrase I'm sure you've heard many times repeated in comics: "You cannot escape my shadow form." And now he's got all these like spider arms and like slashing bits. "Come into my web," said the spider to the fly. Yep. Yeah, his eyeball. Yep, he looks in almost as bad a shape as Rey Mysterio. That's right. Did you play video games as a kid? Okay. Do you remember the fighting game that had characters that looked similar to this, but they were like horror? Yeah, something like that. This is very Darkstalkers-ish. Yeah. Okay, like this is very much that, or that was very much this. All right. Well, speaking of video games, holy rosary attack! And she throws exploding rosary beads at the demon. That is fucking brilliant. And the best part of this issue, yeah, totally. All right, say it with me. 3, 2, 1, virgin kick! That's the one thing I think the X-Men were missing, was yelling out the name of their move. If I haven't watched Warrior Nun yet, as I've said before, but if she doesn't yell out virgin kick, the series is a 0 for me. Absolutely. F. With a capital fuck you. I need to hear her yell out virgin kick. Yes. And she says, "Whew, never thought I'd take on a guy this big. Guess all that training didn't go to waste." It's good. Yeah. It was acknowledged in the beginning, but we don't see things. Come on now. And then she suddenly realized, she's like, "Don't the child!" And there's Lilith making off with the kid. And Lilith starts questioning the kid, like he knows what's going on. Okay, kid. What's with you and Demon Foster, huh? Why are they after you? Oh, no. And then from behind comes Warrior Nun, who slices off her wings. Lilith is having a bad day. Ah, the pain. Can we just talk about how unheroic that is? She doesn't say, "Hey, turn around, you with the big tits. Put the child down. Hey, you." I can't remember the joke now. Hey, you, get your damn hands off. Oh, Biff. Nothing. No, get away from her, you bitch. Nothing. Just whoofs. Off with the damn wings. Not even a warning. This Warrior Nun doesn't play fair. How very Batman-esque from the 60s. Oh, it's brilliant. All right, so now Lilith is pissed, and she attacks our sister Shannon here in the back with her electric whip. And she says, "Why did you attack me?" And Warrior Nun, who is an idiot, says, "Because you are a demon. You are all evil." She's very racist. All demons are enemies. Yes, all demons are enemies of the one true church. I mean, I guess if you're a nun, that sounds like something you might say. But I've met nuns. They do acknowledge other religions. They're not, I worked with a nun when I worked in a foster care agency in Brooklyn. She did acknowledge that there were Jews about. That's right. And you will find that we are not all the same. Hey, look out behind you! And our spider friend is back. And that's the end of issue number 2. All right. The glorious conclusion, Chris. Are you ready? Oh, my God. I would insist then we'd listen to it in the Metal Hammer of Doom if you could find it. Okay. Yes, 2 CD singles were made. One by Pink Filth. You ever listen to much Pink Filth? That's Pink Floyd, sir. And Bad Habits, Monkeys on the Throne. Songs for Monkeys include Man is a Threat. This is Beelzebub theme. Get it? Beelzebub, not Beelzebub. Get it? Yeah. Lilith, I'm Connected, Satan's Jester, Eyes of the Innocent, Incantation, Warrior Nun, and Faith. We have to find this music somewhere. Yes. Yes, sir. How are we not reading Bondage Fairies right now? I know I suggested we should do an Avengers comic in a few weeks, but I'm thinking depending on when, if Jesse may never come back, and if Jesse doesn't come back, we're going to need to fill up the schedules more. We are definitely having to do Bondage Fairies. Oh my God. First of all, Netflix, get on your shit. Yeah, where is my Bondage Fairies adaptation? We're having too much fun. All right. Issue number 3, Monkeys on the Throne, opens up with... I don't know what this is. How would you even describe this? I believe this is Warrior Nun through the ages, and apparently she's the only one that dresses like a whore. And wearing armor. I'm a big fan of, if you're going to call yourself warrior anything, you should probably wear armor. All right. So we get some flashbacks here. And then, all right, so Shannon is in the hospital there. She's being cared for. And hey, her arm's missing, and they gave her, because I don't know if you know this or not, but the Catholic Church has always been ahead of the game when it came to cybernetics. Yes. Oh, you were a good Catholic boy. You were confirmed. Good for you. Did you have a mass beforehand, or just a Catholic ceremony? Jesus Christ, and it's still not going on? Because I remember when Vinny and Ronnie had a Catholic mass before their big giant Italian wedding. That went on for, I'm still there, as a matter of fact. It's going on behind me. That's right, your wife is of Mexican heritage. Please show her nude nuns with big guns. It is a South American cultural, Central American cultural experience, let me tell you. All right, moving on from this silliness. Oh, but there's horns of mariachi, all right. And cocaine and nude nuns and rape scenes and all kinds of fun. All right. So we get this long, drawn-out conversation about her getting a new hand, and then there's the kid, and they're on their ass is what happened here. You know, they thought they were ahead of the game, but they got knocked on their ass, and now they got to recoup and regroup. And she says, we're about several pages into this, and she finally says, "Let's go kick some demon butt." Mm-hmm. Well, she is a nun after all. I'd have to. Let's see here. I don't know. Yeah, I know Father Terrence, so that's all I care about. So, by the way, her new cybernetic hand can call upon the God armor. Yeah. Well, you don't want to have to whip out a cell phone in the middle of your fight. It's true. She can, in one of her many pouches, or she could just stick it under her boob. So we're back to Lilith again. Yep. And she gets stabbed by, yeah. Who the hell are you? Call me the cleric. I swear to God, I love these names. Like, this doesn't sound like a D&D campaign at all. Good for you. I am the undead paladin. And I am your doom. Haha. Shit. I don't have time for this. She ain't got time to truck with your nonsense. This is very creative. So, but she's caught like a rat trapped in a net, an ethereal net. Can't just, I hope. Yes. Oh, I remember this. Okay, so here's, yes, another one whose boobs are being held up by belts. Sister Stiletto and Mistress Maven. These are my favorite characters in this book, by the way. Did you ever read the Heavy Metal magazine? This, I assume it's Sister Stiletto. I mean, one of it's written in purple writing, and the other one's written in red writing, and the other one's red, and the other one's black. So I assume the one whose boobs are being held up by black leather belts, one belt apiece, is Sister Stiletto. She looks like she popped right out of a heavy metal heavy metal magazine. All right, and then as soon as they're introduced, we fuck off and leave them there. Yep. Prepare the demonic defenses. Nothing must stop us. Zram oog. The time is nigh. The time is nigh. On. No? All right. The time is nigh. That's right. The time is nigh. Oh, perfect. Well, you should like this next scene, because this is apparently where the warrior nun takes on the savage dragon. Where did the cop come from? With the patch? Yeah. When did this happen? It's a great splash page, but where did all these people come from, and why did they walk out of a Duke Nukem comic? And there's Shotgun Mary. Let's go. And she's got like a MAC-10 and an Uzi. Yeah, motherfucker. And of course, a bandolier of bullets. And don't forget the Catholic cross, because we want to make sure that, listen, Jesus stood for peace, Chris. Yeah, this is turn the other cheek and punch the other side of it. All right, so we get a lot of images of just fighting. This is the very definition of the punchy parts. And oh, please let there be a Shotgun Mary scene in Warrior Nun where she yells out, "Who wants to live forever?" Oh, this is so good. Was there a dartboard covered in cliches and they just threw darts at it? Who wants to live forever? Straight out of Flash Gordon, baby. All right. You fools, do you think you could enter the realm of Savius Julianus and live? Oh, look, Sister... Okay, so I didn't realize this before, but Madam Maven, whatever her name is. Okay, she's literally just wearing Scotch tape across her nipples. Nothing. Look, I've met some women in my time, and they all complain that they need something to hold up their boobs or they hurt. They can't just be dangling in the breeze like that, especially when you're about to get into combat. They do! You will suffer such pain that... Why don't you just shut up? So far, Shotgun Mary has been doing most of the shooting and the saving around here. Our Warrior Nun friend's not doing much of anything. Yeah, like, she got really, like, marginalized in her own story here. Like, had this been, you know... First of all, I don't think they should have been a Sister Mary, a Shotgun Mary. I think this should have been Barbed Wire. Granted, that was in a whole other company, but still. Can we get that team up? The Warrior Nun Barbed Wire team up? What's Pamela Anderson doing right now, really? Or just recast the role? All right, so she's looking for a bomb, Warrior Nun is, and she takes her big, giant X-Men cybernetic arm and punches through a wall, and, oh, look who she found. Look who she found, Chris. Yes, because if you haven't had enough gratuitous nudity, let's have Lilith just hanging up naked as the day she was born. And she says, I think I found it. Welcome to my home. Enter freely of your own will. Why, you are only a child. She's a full-grown woman. What the fuck? This would be a lot more disturbing if she were a child. I am not a child. Very well, then. That was a good conversation. I am Salvius Julianus, Emperor of Rome. For centuries I have wandered the earth immune to my humanity. Oh, God. I can't even with this dialogue, Chris. Now I tire of this life. I wish to embrace death. This is why I fucking hate anime. I just outside of Godzilla, I just hate the Japanese culture. I can't, and sushi. I'll take the food in Godzilla. The rest you can fucking have. But the price is very high. Only with the death of this city will my Lord Lucifer be appeased. Jesus Christ. So she stabs him, see, and then he pulls his emperor bullshit where he hits her with electricity, and they're talking and they're talking and they're talking. Regardless, you are too late. The planets are almost in alignment. Planets align. A king is born. Jesus on the dead. Sorry, that's clutch. Soon this city will sleep the eternal sleep. And and while he's just yammering on, she hits the machine with a sword. This is not a very smart villain. So your mad scheme ends by your own hands. So Japanese. You will pay for this, nun. And then he pulls the emperor bullshit on her again. Yeah, he's giving her magic fingers, all right. Arrgh. And so the electricity she's not, there's no Darth Vader here to save her and throw him down the elevator shaft. She's just taking the full effort of his electricity. And so she has to do it. She must call the God Armor. And down comes Veronica. Which they say, the shield of vengeance, the wrath of God. And she's all dolled up now, baby. Of course, you can still see a lot of leg. And she chops him in half. That's it. And she left Lilith here just hanging naked. I mean, is there no partnership among women? Yeah. Look, I believe if one woman, even a woman you didn't like, if you saw her hanging up naked, you'd at least let her down. And so we have our Daredevil ending. 2 women standing atop a rooftop, looking into the easy breezy, overlooking the city. And Shotgun Mary gets on her motorcycle. It still appears to be the Harley, and she fucks off. Mm-hmm. And on our very last panel here, the Warrior Nun shares ice cream with Jason. Does his name? Yeah. And then we get a little... Yeah. Yep. And the demons hooting and hollering at her. What? Such a nerve. Yeah. It would seem that had he just paid attention to what was going on, he could have stopped. Like, he posed no threat to her when it was the most important. And then after she blew up his machine, he was like, oh, fuck. And then he hit her with the lightning. All right. So this was super silly. I had fun reading it. I mean, it may not have been your bag, but I got a gas of a time reading it. I laughed. I like stupid. Yeah. Yeah. What's the bad girl stuff? Okay. Vampirella. Sure. Do you believe him when he says that it was parody is intentional? When Mel Brooks looks at the sci-fi and fantasy genre from the 70s onward and says, I'm going to make fun of Star Wars and Star Trek and Alien and Planet of the Apes, he's intentionally poking fun at the sci-fi and fantasy trope. when he makes Dracula Dead and Loving It, he's looking at the various Dracula films that are out there and goes, what are some of the commonalities that I can poke fun at? There's intention there. I don't believe this to be an intentionally poking fun at the bad girl, as you said, trend. I think he saw the bandwagon and jumped the fuck right on it. Right? So it's like, oh, it's parody. Yeah, we were poking fun at the genre, you see. No, you hornball. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the criticism, and then we'll get out of here. I'm going to read this to you, okay? Such criticisms and sentiments also extended to members of the real Roman Catholic Church. Real priests and nuns sent their letters in alternately praising... How did they even find out about this? Like, did somebody write them a letter? Like, someone just runs into the church? Real priests and nuns sent their letters in alternately praising and condemning the series. Between the summer of 90... In the summer of 97, the U.S. Catholic League stated that it does object to the comic strip characters that appear in the Warrior Nuns comic strip, a product of Antarctic Press. In another example, Sister Mary Ann Walsh, a speaker for Washington, D.C.'s United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, stated that Areala's costume is offensive. No shit. The habit is sacred. That is seen in early issues with how the upper half of the muscled, buxom Sister Shannon's ultra-low-cut battle habit would show cleavage and or perpetually erect nipples through the cloth, while the lower half consists of a loincloth, in that much on other warrior nuns. It was a seeming contradiction in terms with how a nun's habit is meant to hide the body in order to discourage lust. In fact, Ben Dunn wrote that the reason he did that was that... Oh, this is perfect. Okay, so... I will have to advertise this on, like, Facebook and Twitter. This is the line, and then sometimes I put a silly little line in there to get people to, like, maybe pay attention to it. Ben Dunn wrote the reason he did that was because nipples sell. He ain't wrong. Yep. This is not a parody. Regardless, Dunn stated that the loincloth is for mobility. You know what else could be for mobility? Fucking tights, dude. And that is the official in-continuity explanation. Hey, you, why are your erect nipples and thighs showing? Well, I need the mobility, see, when I throw a sword around. So, later on, specifically, Warrior Nun Areala Rituals number 5, Sister Shannon's superior assigns the Warrior Nuns new, more modest battle habits that cover their breast. Cover them titties up, goddamn. Dunn himself ultimately did say that perhaps I think I did go a little overboard in the earlier issues. Gee whiz, you think, sir? All right, I think we've talked about this enough. This was a lot of fun, though. Warrior Nun Areala. Now, which is the one that we have to do on your show? Yes, yeah, Warrior Nun Areala and Glory. Oh, I think they showed them pictures and they were like, "Hey, tits don't belong in any. Tits and nun don't belong in." But here's the thing, like. When I tell you that, like, if you look up, like, Italian nun-exploitation films, there's tons of them out there. I mean, like, these things were being made like spaghetti westerns at one time. So, they may have... I'm sure they complained about that, too. But my point being is that the Catholic League and all these other places can complain all they want, but this is such a sub-genre, anything having to do with nuns, they don't wield a tremendous amount of power, and they're just kind of yelling into the wind. Yeah. Here's a modern-day example of what you're talking about. There's probably not a lot of reasons for me to have watched the new She-Ra cartoon. And had there been no buzz on it, had it not made the news that it was the gayest, it was more queer than the $3 bill, I wouldn't have paid any attention to it. But because, like, parents there were whole articles written about how gay She-Ra was, the new She-Ra on Netflix. And you don't know what She-Ra is? They did an update to it where they made it, like, very LGBTQ positive. Okay. Well, this update, for the first season and the last season, and not a tremendous amount in between, was super gay. And Alexis and I reviewed it, and we loved it, and we thought it was great. But as a 40-some-odd-year-old man, I don't know if I would have given it the time of day had it not had that kind of press. Like, and it was the same thing with, oh gosh, what was the name of the show with what's her face from Jessie? It doesn't matter. Sean and I reviewed both seasons of it. People who have kept up with the podcast know which one I'm talking about. The Netflix show with the girl from Jessie, where she's like fat shamed. The whole reason we did it was, other than I like the actress, is Debbie. I think it's Debbie Ryan is her name. There were tons of articles about how the show was like fat shaming people. It made news. I got interested in something I wouldn't otherwise have watched. Yep. Yeah. No. Right. And that's the thing, is like there's no commentary about the Catholic Church here. Like she was like turning inward and taking on the church. Like, this is a nun who's had enough. Yeah, I was gonna say. Mm-hmm. And I was gonna say, like, what difference was this from like an X-Men book or an Avengers or yeah? All right. So are you interested in watching the show now? Out of curiosity, okay. Not won over at all. All right. Well, this week it's kind of a strange, as we like to call them, a tossed salad and scrambled eggs week. Normally we review the show right after the comic book, but Jason Teasley isn't available until Friday night, so we'll do Warrior Nun Season 1, that rhymes and it wasn't time, on this Friday. Well, we'll take Tuesday off. In the meantime, in between time, Wednesday night, myself and Jesse Starcher will review a pirate metal album from 2016, Lagerstein, All for Rum and Rum for All. And then on Thursday, August 30th, myself, Sean Comer, and Andrew Graham are going to talk about the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. We'll look at all 5 movies. The 3. Yeah, there's the 3 Will and Elizabeth movies. Then they started off like kind of like, where does Jack's compass take him next, kind of a thing. So there's one about there's one about the Fountain of Youth, and then there's one about like Neptune's Trident. If you want to see what else is in the archive, if maybe you just discovered this by accident and you stuck around after all this talk, we reviewed last week, myself and Chris Sheehan reviewed Pride of Baghdad, very well-received show. Myself and the 2 Chris's reviewed Extreme Rules, the horror show, and Fight for the Fallen. Myself and Jesse Starcher reviewed the new Static X. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over to Chris so he can do all of his various plugs. Okay, if you're wondering what the next thing we're doing on Source Material Live, well, we're taking a 2-week break, but we are going to do a comic strip for the first graphic novel trade paperback for the Umbrella Academy, and we're going to compare it to the first season of the Umbrella Academy, just in time for Umbrella Academy Season 2. And that'll be a comic strip with your man, Evan Bevins, and that's going to be August 4th. The next time, Chris... He did. And then... And then Chris Sheehan will be back. Just because Tenet got delayed, I said, screw it, we're going to talk about this goddamn book. We're doing Black Panther Volume 1, The Client, and we're going to do that August 17th. So if you're loving Chris Sheehan like I love Chris Sheehan, then check him out again August 17th when we review Black Panther, The Client. Until then, this has been the Warrior Nuns Areala. Be well, be safe, and behave.
Now that we're getting back on the road, the stops we make seem more special than before. Stop to see a friend. Stop at your favorite store. Stop at the places you missed most. And to keep you going between those stops, there's Shell. Stopping to fill up with our best fuel ever. Save with the Fuel Rewards program. And to get snacks and essentials that can save you even more at the pump. That's just a few of the ways Shell helps you make the most of the stop you need to make. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.